Siyata Dishmaya, we are here in Shari Yichud, continuing with Neshama, Neshima, the Jewish breathwork series. Everybody take a nice inhale and let it out. Baruch Hashem. Today we're going to be learning Mizona de Nishmata, the food, the sustenance of the soul. How are we meant to rebuke our partners, our spouses, our children, our students, people that are meant to listen to us, that usually do listen to us? We have an influence over them, that they depend on us. How are we meant to give them proper rebuke and to ignite the flame in their heart? Very, very important topic. We know that rebuke is one of the mitzvot of the Torah, that you have to give rebuke to other people and teach them the ways of Hashem and not let them fall off the path. With that said, in Rabbi Akiva's time already, 1900 years ago, 2000 years ago, it was said, I would be blown away if there's someone in our generation that knows how to do this mitzvah. Right? Rabbi Natan is famously said, Rabbi Natan of Breslov said, doing rebuke to a person in an improper way is as if there's a garbage bag sitting on the side of the room. It's been sitting there for a while. It does smell very bad, but you can't smell it because it's just sitting. You come with words of rebuke that don't do anything, just shake the bag and put it right back down. And now all the fumes are spreading throughout the room and it stinks and is disgusting, but the trash is still there because your words weren't even proper enough to fix the situation, just to make more of a mess. So we want to learn today how to do rebuke in the right way and to know when we are allowed to do it, when we should do it, and when we should avoid it as much as possible. We've been talking about stress and all this pressure that comes into a person's life, whether it's holy stress from religious things and spiritual things, or whether it's just societal stress of the world and things that we have to do as human beings. And like the majority of things in this world, everything is made up of good and bad, positive and negative. There's a lot of good things about stress, about pressure, right? It makes me move faster, make me do what I'm obligated to do, the requirements that I came to this world to fulfill. And that, included inside there, is what's called Yirat Shamayim, the awe of heaven, right? Of being connected to Hashem and knowing that there's Torah and mitzvot that I have to keep. Ad she'en l'tachlif. There's nothing that could replace that, except for that pressure inside of me to know that I have to keep the word of Hashem. I have to do the right thing in life. And in a rectified way like this, that kind of stress is called stress hamitukan, rectified stress. And that is what's called by the Chachamim, by Chazal, Mizona de Nishmata, the food of the Neshama, the sustenance of the Neshama. That it's what helps strengthen the Neshama, taking these portions, these doses of energy, right, that gives zaps to the body to push you to be able to do what it is that you need to do, right, to get up in the morning, to start your day. Where did you get that from? This stress, this holy stress that really is holy, that so to say gives you a boost of adrenaline, right? A portion of energy to give you the boost that it is that you need to do the things that you need to do in life. That's called Mizona de Nishmata, the food of our soul. But what about all of the bitter, stressful rebukes and things that people say in the world? All these different type of rabbis that come to put fear in us and to tell us of our bad ways, parents, teachers that are always resting and dwelling inside midat adin, inside the measure of judgment, and in this inclination of criticism and always looking for the bad in others and what needs to be fixed. Is tikkun olam worth destroying a person? Is fixing the world worth shattering a person at their core? And the last Torah that Rabbi Nachman gave, it's called Tiku Tochecha, the blowing of Tochecha, right? Like the sound of the shofar of Tochecha, of rebuke. It's the second book of Likutei Moharan, the 8th teaching. Rabbi Nachman said in his last Rosh Hashanah, right, 18 days before he passed away, with Mesirut Nefesh, he had already had tuberculosis, he was sick, coughing up blood, he was nearly dying at the moment when he gave over this Torah. So to say, this is like his will, this is like his last will, the last teaching that he gave us on the highest point, Rosh Hashanah. And his message was, how can we prevent this spill of blood, of this netisha of people that were leaving Torah and mitzvot at that time, right? There was the askala, universities, atheism, philosophy, all these different things that were popping up in the Jewish world at that moment. Reb Nachman's last Torah is talking about how can we prevent losing so many souls? How can we prevent all of our brothers and sisters from getting pulled in to these things that are detached from Hashem? How can we prepare our children and educate our children and prepare them for Geula, for redemption? And a lot of people hold that this is the most important Torah because it's the last message that he gave. It's like, so to say, he knew everything that he had said so far, and this is what he chose to talk about before he passed. התקשורת הביקורתית, התקשורת והביקורת, the communication and the criticism, that's, so to say, where the future of our nation is dependent on. If we want to stay a nation, it's always come down to, hey, we don't do that as Jews. We don't marry non-Jews. We don't break Shabbat. We keep Torah. We do the right thing. That's what keeps the Jews in check, right? From generation to generation, family to family, to making sure that every individual stays a Jew. Talking, communication, criticism, constructive criticism, it's always been part of the picture. And in this Torah, there's so many finer details there that it's too much for us to go in right now, but we're going to focus on one part there. If a person really wants to go into that second book of Likutei Moran, into the 8th teaching there, and to open up what Rabbi Natan has to say about it, and all the different people, you're going to see wonders, wonders, wonders. But let's just focus on one point. By way of rebuke, even though rebuke is this big thing, right? It's a huge thing, it's a mitzvah, it's one of the 613 mitzvot. And it's, so to say, even an obligation. When I see someone and I see a person that I love, that I cherish, another Jew, one of my brothers, my sisters, doing something that's not proper, I have to tell him, hey, this is not the right thing, and we have to do it in the right way. But not everybody is fitting to do this. Not everybody should be trying to do this mitzvah, because there's conditions on how to do it properly. And if a person is not able to give proper rebuke, and they start to lift their voice, raise their voice, then it's almost certain that the words that they're saying are not going to help. The opposite is true, they're going to do damage. Because after that rebuke, not on the fact that there is something wrong here alone, if you talk about things that were wrong, just the thing that was wrong, maybe there's room to fix. But when you say things in the wrong way and you lift your voice and you start to get personal, you start to attack the person, so now you take away any ability to fix. You remove, you make that person paralyzed, not able to move and do what he needs to do. And what determines if a person is fit enough to give rebuke? His voice. How much are you giving over by way of your voice? Again, we're not talking words here. Your kol, your voice, just your voice. How much of your voice is giving over to other people from a place of truthfully building constructive criticism? How much is your voice expressing the ability to renew at any given moment? Belief that Hashem can change at any given moment the whole entire reality. Again, it's not the words that you're saying. In your voice, can it be heard the voice of hope, the voice of emunah v'tchadshut, of renewal in the world, that a person can renew themselves as well? That voice, that message that comes through the voice, not through the words, has the ability to arouse a person, and then he'll have the desire and the willpower needed to fix. This voice is a musical voice at its core. It's, so to say, like this heavenly echo from a new song that will be brought down in the future, that will fill up and flood the whole entire universe. This voice has the power to act and to rectify in the same way that the prophets had their voice rectified in this way as well. That they stretch down this path, this line, this kav of tikva, of hope, between the soul and its future, its beautiful, rectified, amazing future that's waiting in anticipation for it. And since renewing the world, miracles that are wonderful above the limitations of this world, depends on the ruach, depends on the spirit, on the breath, it's very easy to understand now that this depends on the health of our lungs, meaning in the quality of our breath, that the person who wants to rebuke needs to practice more and more and more with intention in order to rectify his voice. Right? The voice comes from breath. You want to have a better voice, a voice that sings a song of renewal, that sings a song of hope, that sings a song of emunah, of the ability to change the situation to make it better. So then you have to breathe properly and you have to purify your breath, which will affect your voice. Now you want to come and give rebuke to your wife that she doesn't know how to cook, like your mother. Don't ever do that. Don't ever do that. Don't ever do that. Right? But if you want to come now and give a rebuke to a woman and tell her she doesn't cook like your mother, so then she's going to come and tell you, you don't make enough money. And now what are you doing? You're showing your children, these poor children, that they don't have enough talents like the neighbor's kids. She doesn't cook like your mom. You don't make money like her dad. What does that mean? That the kids that are listening to all of this are not as good as the kids around them in the other houses. Because they do have the money. They do have nice food. So that if we don't have that in our house, if I don't make enough money and you don't cook well enough, so then that means that our kids are not good enough. That's what they're doing together. That's a disgusting, horrible picture that will destroy any wonderful house. Your house is meant to be a mishkan, meant to be a dwelling place for the Shekhinah. Before anything, at the moment of rage, at the moment of an anger, there's no one that can hear and understand the meaning of the words that are being thrown out of your mouth. Since his voice, his bitter voice, is confusing. It confuses everything and it doesn't give anybody the ability to hear the words that are being said. A person that's enraged and lifts his voice up, now the voice loses that music of Geula, that music of tikkun, of emunah, of tikva. Your voice is not there, so the words can't even be heard. It's just rage, it's just anger, it's just fire with no depth to it. And the main thing is then at that moment, תוכחה שאינה בטון משיחי הנ"ל היא זו שיוצרת רוב רובם של הנושרים. Rebuke that does not come from the Mashiach tone in your voice, from the Geula song in your voice, that kind of rebuke is what causes the majority of Jews to lose their Judaism, to leave the yeshivas and to leave the system. People don't go away from the sweet Judaism if it weren't for these people that rebuke in a bitter way. They fall down to the depths of the abyss, or they go to run to switch out their connection that they had with Hashem in Judaism in their Kehillah with exchanging it with drugs or all these different things that are only in their imagination, only to get that nasty, bitter voice, that nasty song out of their head, to try to bring down some hope, to try to bring down some light. What's the big wonder here in this whole entire sugya? It's that Reb Nachman was able to bring both of these ideas into one place, the lungs. The lungs. It's in order to teach us that everything depends on our breath. Everything depends on breathing. When your conditioning of your lungs is complete, meaning when you breathe with proper, pure intention to merit to a more Mashiach-like voice, to a more Geula-like voice, then your speech gets improved because you start to come closer to the definition of a person who is fitting to give rebuke. And then you're able to talk in a way that could benefit and even really change people. Another connection and level that we see between breathing and rebuke is that if you go quickly and you run to say something, you see someone doing something wrong, right? Your wife, your husband, your child, a person that you see in your community, whoever it is, you run to tell them off when you see them doing something wrong. Stop. First things first, before you run anywhere, stop for a moment. Take in a few nice deep inhales, sigh a few times, and then see it with your eyes. Is it really worth it for me to say something right now? Maybe I could push this off for tomorrow, for another moment. Maybe I don't have to say something right now. Same thing for people that want to go speak gossip or say negative things in the world. There's no one like a person who's able to take a few deep breaths, who's able to stop themselves when they feel something coming up inside of them, to take a few deep breaths that could stop you from saying some stupid thing, something coming out of your mind that you don't really agree with 100%, saying something negative about another person, saying something negative just for saying it when it's not really important. You know how to stop your ruach. You know how to stop this spirit, this flow that's coming up inside of you. And there's people that they're able to pull the brakes, the emergency brake, in such a way that people are blown away by them. What's going on? How in the world did you stop this crazy storm that's going on? How do you learn that? This we learn from the pasuk, Mi ha'ish hachafetz chaim. Who is he who wants life, who desires life? Nitzol leshoncha mira. Stop your mouth from speaking negative things. The Chafetz Chaim, it's not his name is Rav Yisrael Meir, right? Rav Yisrael Meir, why did he name his book about Lashon Hara, about evil speech, a Chafetz Chaim? Because that's the pasuk he was using. Mi ha'ish a Chafetz Chaim. Who is the person who desires life? Nitzol leshoncha mira. Stop your tongue from evil. Chaim zeh mashe boreh nafach ba'apenu. Life is what Hashem breathed into our nostrils. From the days of Bereshit until now, He's doing it in every single moment. Ve'ipach ba'apav nishmat chaim. He blew into his nose a living soul. Chaim zeh aschar shemetzapeh lekol mi shenoshem bekavana limshol berucho ke'anchayot hachafetz chaim. Life is the reward that is waiting for everybody who breathes with proper intention, meaning to rule over the spirits inside of his body, like the instructions of the Chafetz Chaim himself, Zichronon Livracha, Bezrat Hashem.